What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're here with Ezsa Allen, and we're going to speak to her a little bit, about, her life, definitely her work and what she do with mental health. And I was viewing a few videos that she had on Instagram, speaking with a few brothers. And, brothers, we go through a lot, in that area, and we don't like to talk about it. But we'll get to the rest of that. So, Ezsa, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, Ezsa, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, because, some people may not, say, they always ask me questions like, who is this person, so you tell people just a little bit about yourself.
So I am originally from Nicaragua, and I came over here when I was 1 year old, and to Riviera Beach, Florida. And we grew up in a single parent family home. My mom raised 5 children on her own. And went through school, we're in the kind of lower end of poverty. I mean, at the time we didn't know, my mom made way for everything, but she had to work and bust her butt like 3 jobs back to back, like every shift, so that she can provide for us. Without government assistance, without a man. I mean, she did it all by herself. So, and now I'm here. I put myself through school. I have 3 children now, and I own my own mental health company, and I own a nonprofit too as well for mental health. Okay, so we were having a conversation prior. That journey your mom, had. That part of the story you was telling me was very interesting. Can you tell the audience about that story? So again, we're from Nicaragua. I say that I'm from Nicaragua, but the story behind that goes that when she was pregnant with me, there was at that time they were going through a war, and in Nicaragua they don't just recruit males; they recruit males, females, children, pregnant women. If you can hold a gun, you're going to be recruited into the kind of revolution war that they had back then. So my mom knew from an early age that she wanted better for not only herself, but her children, because at that point she had 5 children already. So she took the journey on leaving the country as a wetback to get to the United States to have a better opportunity for herself. And again, her children. Again, being pregnant with me, I think it was 8-9 months pregnant, she got arrested, and I ended up being born in jail. And I think she stayed, it was in the border of Guatemala, and I'm not sure which border it was, but it was Guatemala. It was technically Guatemala. Malacatán, Guatemala is where I was born. And she stayed there like a couple of months, and then she continued her journey again. And then I came to the United States when I was 1.
So coming to the United States, from Nicaragua, and you identify as Afro-Latina?
Yes.
Okay. So as you grew up, coming to the United States, as an immigrant, how was the relationship with, you and Black Americans?
It's so weird because back then I was the oddball because I was raised in Riviera Beach, Florida, where it's predominantly Black population. And through my eyes, I was like everybody else, because like my family side, on my dad's side, everyone looks like what I'm seeing. However, what they're seeing, I was the oddball, so to speak. So I actually went through a lot of bullying. I got a lot of discrimination against. I went through a lot as a young kid growing up, because I was like the only Spanish kid that they would consider in school, and I would get picked on a lot and bullied a lot. And that was like my first kind of interaction with America.
Well, what would they tell you in the bullying? Because bullying is something that a lot of people deal with. What would they tell you specifically?
So a lot of the girls didn't want to play with me, or they would be intentional about being mean to me for no apparent reason. At that time, there was no apparent reason, and still to this day, it's like you were just kind of an outcast, and no one wanted to, or not no one. I would just say more of the girls. They would pull my hair. They would throw things at me with, it's just being mean for no reason, and just things that I guess bullies do,
Yeah, because when I hear, I've heard those stories before, and that's why I asked specifically what happened.
Mhm.
Because like in our communities here, like it's a little different, right? So some people may come over and say, "Oh, they was talking about me and this and that," but in our neighborhoods, like we would call that, like, well, today they call it roasting, right?
No, it wasn't roasting. I know what roasting is.
Yeah, okay. I say, well, like we used to do that all the time. I never forget, how if you couldn't roast each other, boy, you about to have a bad day. And growing up, I remember you better fight too.
That's right.
Because if you did not fight, you about to be picked on.
You got to defend yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So basically, from what you're telling me, I'm just listening to it. It more so childhood bullying. It wasn't no specific that, oh, we don't like you because you're, where you're from. They
didn't know where I was from specifically. I just had a different tone. I didn't look like everybody else, and it was just simply for what I looked like. I was discriminated against for what I looked like, and at the time I didn't know what it was. And I developed like a sense of, you become tough in a sense. It made you tough, it's how to deal with people, but at that time it was different because you don't know why people are treating you differently. And then you grow into learning that like when you get older, you clearly understand more on a cognitive level as to what may have transpired then. But as a child, you don't understand why you're getting picked on for no reason.
I definitely understand, because I remember dealing with those issues myself growing up. I remember, they used to roast me all the time about how dark skinned I was and telling me, hey, I can't see you at night and all. Oh boy, I remember that. They did not. And then see, I grew up in the time period where it was hard to be a dark skinned brother. That's the time during El DeBarge and Al B. Sure and all that time when the Ray was the light skinned brothers.
Yeah,
and it was hard.
Yes, yes.
It was hard, boy. You get roasted bad out here, and at one point in time I had a complex about myself about being my color, right? But I have no complex now. I've been got rid of that.
Right? Yeah.
So like I said, it's tough. It can be tough, but you came out of that. You graduated high school. So what made you, when you wanted to go to college, major within the field you're in now?
The funny thing is, I never wanted to be a therapist per se when I was younger, or even going into high school or college. I never wanted to be a therapist. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit about me, that I do know. Like, I've always wanted to own my own business. At the time, I didn't know what it was, but I just knew I wanted to own a business. So I went through many businesses before I landed and stuck with being a therapist. I started my own real estate business, and then I started my own modeling company for children. And then I started event planning business, and I went to agency planning business for nursing. And then I wanted to become a nurse. And then I went into, I was going to school at this time, and then I had a full-time job as a behavioral tech. And when I did that position, so I always had a passion too for children, helping children. I wanted to own my business and help children. That's all I knew. So when I got into this role as a behavioral tech, it almost kind of aligned perfectly with my passion and starting my own business. And that's kind of where I got the idea. Well, hey, you know what? If these agencies can, if this is how they operate, I just kind of, while I was working there, peep game on as to what's needed as far as creating your own agency. And I took my time and totally created my own agency until I have it today now.
So now you have your own agency,
yes.
And you work with a lot of people, in the area of mental health.
Yes.
What is the misconceptions about mental health in the Black community? Because we definitely have a lot of them. And I don't want to say, but what have you seen in your practice, the misconceptions about mental health?
That mental health people are just for crazy people. We don't connect the dots that mental health is just strengthening your mental status, so to speak. Everyone has a brain. We operate through our brain. And the misconception we have is that if you're going to see a therapist, then something must be wrong with you and you must be crazy. You must be that person we see on the streets talking to themselves, you know, and we don't want to associate with that. And we don't want to we're almost embarrassed to say that we have a therapist, but it's totally because of a lack of education and the lack that our ancestors was taught as far as kind of getting that mental strength, so to speak, or even tweaking whatever it is that you need for coping skills for life, because life is going to hit you regardless, right? And if you're sick and your body's sick, you go to a doctor. We were never taught that, well, if your mind is sick or you need kind of skills to deal with life, that you just go see a therapist or a psychiatrist if you need medication management.
Okay, so do you focus most on the area of psychology or psychiatry?
Psychology.
Okay, all right, good. I like psychologists. Psychiatrists,
Me too.
they want to. I don't like nobody's going to give me some medication to get high. Don't need that. Don't want it, and I don't advocate for it. Right. But let's say okay, like let's talk about a lot of people in America, right? Could you possibly? They've been saying that how, you know, racism, white supremacy is a health crisis. They've been reporting this in many places, in many states, on record.
Yes.
With all the constant deaths that Black Americans are seeing, like your George Floyds, your Breonna Taylors, you know, you can go all the way back to Trayvon Martin, Rakia Boyd, Corin Gaines, Philando Castile, the constant death all the time that Black Americans are seeing. What is that doing to our, you know, mental health as a community?
It's instilling fear in us. It's instilling fear in us to saying that, you know, a country that you are in that's supposed to provide and protect for all is a total fraud, because it doesn't provide and protect for all. And if you are not on the side of the, you know, white side, or if you don't look or act like a certain demographic of people, then you're not protected, right? So you go out into this world having to deal with life in general, and now you're having to deal with just the other side looking at you as an enemy for no reason, for just being born and looking a certain way. And it kind of messes with your psyche to understand that, you know, when you are looked on as the enemy and you've done nothing wrong to kind of meet the criteria for being an enemy, it messes with your mind in a sense that you're not treated equally. And at some point, it makes people feel like, you know, they're not enough. And it messes with your self-esteem. It messes with, you know, just the way you view life, so to speak, because you're living in a country that is not for you, so to speak, and it's not built for you, and it's not built to protect you. And it is against you in certain areas. And then for women with children, with Black children, it's like being a mom alone is very stressful to having to, you want to protect your children at all times, right? And having to knowing that they're going out into a world that just because of the color of their skin or what they look like or the texture of their hair, they're being a target, you know, that instills another type of fear in mothers. You know, so it's just not a fair playing ground at all.
Another question I have as well is that, you know, the thing James Baldwin said, to live in a state of consciousness is to always live in a state of anger.
Correct.
And that's why I'm at a lot of times. Mm-hmm. That's why at times I got to have, you know, my personal mental health breaks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because of COVID, I haven't really got it like I normally would have it. But how can, you know, we process that? We see the injustice, we see the evil, you know, like I said, I see it so much, you know, I don't even call it America. I call this place Babylon. That's what it is. It's wicked. It's evil. I don't see nothing like that's promoted that's really good here for Black people at all. I just don't see it. I'm not saying we can't have a good life. I'm not saying we can't have a good family or whatever, but every day we're just seeing evil upon evil, double standard upon double standard. You get what I'm saying? Like, we look at what happened January 6th at that Capitol. Yeah. We both know if that was people that look like me and you would have stormed that Capitol, we would be dead.
On the floors, yeah.
Yeah, on site. Mm-hmm. But these people, because of the color of their skin and because they have a system of white supremacy, we see the FBI come out saying that, well, we don't know, we could prosecute them all. We don't want to tie up the courts. But if it was people like me and you did it, they would build makeshift courts to prosecute me and you.
Again, yeah. But that goes to prove that it was built for them. You understand? So like they're in a system to where they're protected already. So the playing fields aren't the same. It's unequal. And it's almost as if, there's an unspoken rule book for two different sets of people. And that's not fair. And like you said, what do? So you just live in constant fear. You live in constant anger because you're always trying to not only defend yourself, but it's almost as if you feel helpless at some point,
Mm-hmm. So now we have the divide on what you just said as well. You have some people who say, well, our ancestors built this land and we gonna fight and stay here and do whatever, right? And then you may have others that say, realize what you're saying and say, listen, yes, I can have a stake here, but I also can make a way of life, let's say in the continent of Africa, or I can go to the Caribbean, or if you want to go to where the brothers and sisters at in Latin America, right? If they want to go where you're from, right? Mm-hmm. I will ask you about that. I mean, because is that just two responses to the wickedness and negativity of this country? Because it's like it's always a divide on that. Like basically, what should we do? You stay and fight to the end. Or some people may say, you know what, I gotta, see what I can do elsewhere.
I'm always on the side of hope, right? But I think this is an answer that is totally subjective for the individual. And in my opinion, would be to stay and fight. You're already here, right? You know what you're dealing with now. And racism happens everywhere. Okay, so if you take yourself back to Africa, those people in Africa will still have some type of racism against you, even though you're the same color. You understand? Because sometimes they don't even see the same. It's Black is universal, right? But then you can break it down into cultures, and then even in Black cultures, they're against each other. So there's like a lot of unsaid things that we don't speak about too. That's in our own communities that we don't fix either. You know what I'm saying? We can't like just look at the person who's doing the oppression and then just saying, we're right ourselves. We have to like kind of start with ourselves first and fix ourselves, one, and then move together collectively into the playing field that we're already in. Because if you unite everybody together and fight together, there's no stopping. And that hope part is kind of is a little brighter on the future for our children, or our children's children, so to speak, because we're no longer the minorities. You understand? Like in a racial factor, we're becoming the majority. So if we take this majority and have a kind of like getting together and just kind of fixing ourselves individually, fixing ourselves from there's racism within, there's colorism within the Black communities. So it's like we can't just be oblivious to what our issues are first and then trying to go ahead and then attack something else. Because it's going to be the same issue wherever you go. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, inter-ethnic issues, definitely can happen. But I can tell you from personal experience, I went to 2 African countries so far. And the moment I left this country and went to both of them, I don't feel that stress that's on me here.
Yeah, everybody says
yeah, I don't feel it. It's like this place has a oppressive, a spirit about it. I'm telling you, the moment you get out of here and just kind of see and then come back to it, the moment you land in this place, it's literally going to come right back on you. People don't even realize how oppressed they are here or how micromanaged we are here. I mean, it just amazes me how micromanaged we are to the point of like, we don't really enjoy. I'll just say, I can say everybody, but everybody really don't live their life free like they think they do.
No. Mm-mm. But it's a good point you bring up, because that same feeling that you're having when you said you went to Africa, that is the same feeling you have when you go to Nicaragua or when you go to another country, because it's almost as if, and it's weird, because as soon as you step off the plane, it's like a release. It's like something is off your back. And I totally understand what you're saying, and it's like you're stress free, even though this is a land of opportunity and it's a land of, you can get up and it's what they call the opportunity line. Why everybody came here is why I'm here. I understand what you're saying about that unsaid or that unspoken energy, or that I don't know what it is, but I totally agree with that part. Yeah, because as poor or undeveloped as Nicaragua is, everyone says the same thing when you get there. It's just you forget about your stress, you forget about like all the hardships. It's a different feeling.
Yeah, and also, you know, like I said, I'm not a black woman, so I can't, you know, speak on how black women feel, but I can definitely speak as a black man. You know, black men, in my opinion, you know, is the most hated man in the world, but yet the most copied and emulated man of the world, right? And unless we can be used by whoever, and I say used by everybody, no matter where they come from, if they can't use us, they want to kill us. You understand? Even for when we're little boys, you know, this, you know, white supremacist system, you know, try to, you know, demonize our boys, you know, because they don't know how to teach black boys. They want to say, oh, something's wrong with them. Oh, they need, you know, special education, which that's not the case at all. You just don't know how to teach them. It's just bottom line. You don't. You have no care for them. And you have the little black boys grow up to black men, and then we got to deal with, you know, not only internal issues within our community, now we got to deal with white supremacy, and it puts brothers just in this, you know, vice a lot of times on how to move, and some brothers it consumes them. And there's a lot of black men walking around with a lot of issues, and I heard you kind of, you know, talking to a few brothers about that. But in your experience, you know, what are black men actually dealing with that he just won't say?
They're dealing with the fact that, one, they don't feel appreciated. They're dealing with the fact that they're not heard. And it's not even, it goes deeper than in our communities. It goes to the homes, right? They don't even feel settled in their own home, or they don't even feel like, you know, the relational issues within our homes are so dysfunctional. They're so, it's just, to me, it's just, it starts from there to trying to get our homes together and getting our morals back and our standards and our family units, right? Because we're so stripped from that. We have a lot of single moms still raising, you know, and it goes beyond single moms now. To me, it's like it went from families being, the black families being broken up, to now single mom. Then now it's the grandparents raising these children. You know what I'm saying? So we talk again about our children not being raised properly, but it's almost as if the whole dynamic is just dysfunctional. And we have to go back to the basics, and more mentors needs to come in more. I love the fact that when I am doing my shows, the men are opening up, because it gives an opportunity or a platform for other men to see that they're not going through this alone. You know what I'm saying? It's almost as if it might be a universal thing where you can say that it's okay. It's okay to know that, you know, you have these feelings, and nothing is wrong with you per se, but you do need to learn how to navigate those feelings and those emotions, and to cope with them, to become a better person, and that self-development, right? So to knowing how to move forward, and then, you know, getting back to the family units and getting back to the community, and then growing that way. But we're broken from home.
Let's talk about somebody like, for instance, like that, maybe some guys like me. So when I was 8 years old, I remember my grandfather, he had took me to cut grass back in the day. And I remember when I made my first $20. Never forget that. And I asked him a question. I said, so if I work more, I can make more money, right? He said, yeah. He said, you don't ask nobody for nothing. You get it yourself.
Yeah.
I was told that at 8 years old. So I said, oh, okay. So I started putting my little, you know, writing down little things. And ever since I've been like a kid, I just refuse, you know, not to, you know, put myself in a position where I'm be dependent on other people. Mm-hmm. Like I hate to ask people for anything. You know, it took me a long time to even get to the point where I'm at now, where now we have a team. Because for me, it's like I do it all myself. I don't need nobody. I'm good on my own. But eventually, I do tire you out.
So I was going to say it's twofold with that, because one, he's teaching you a valuable lesson of becoming a man on your own and standing on two ground. But I think that one of the key that our parents and our ancestors missed out on, not to their fault though, is that emotional support, is that emotional intelligence, so to speak, to teach you, you know, it is okay when you need help to ask for help. You know what I'm saying? Or to learning or discerning the difference in, you know, that you're a strong Black man, and I'm teaching you to be a strong Black man, but you're also a human, and you're also going to have life that comes and hits you, and it's also going to sometimes be a curveball that you don't even see side eye. You know, it's going to be blindsided to hit you. And you're human to saying that you have emotions, and you have days where you're going to just feel like you just can't do it anymore. You can't be that superhero to where you have to always carry the world, your family, the racial discrimination, the social injustice. You cannot be, you're not built to just carry all that on yourself. And there are going to be some days where you're just going to need to take a breather and a break to kind of recharge. And I think that's something that we don't teach. That's what was missing. You know what I'm saying? To recharge, and that self-care, that self-love, that the therapeutic aspect of it.
Yeah, and also I watched something you said. You was talking with a brother about you know, men having emotions, and you know, I've been one to make those statements about men should not, you know, be emotional like that. I think when men are just the way I was raised, you know, men with emotion, you know, like that's just not showing strength. He's like, how are you going to, you know, lead a family with you being emotional all the time? Because, you know, if you break down and your wife gonna break down, your kids gonna break down, then you need to always basically carry that load, right? So for me, when I see a guy crying all over the place, I say, oh my God. Now, unless your mama died, your dog died, or something like that, I get it. But, you know, if it's not nothing like that, you know, or you're in pain because you're sick, I mean, whatever, I get that. But I'm just not for guys having any kind of emotion. And these new age guys that's been raised with their mamas and not with their daddies, I see a lot of that, and that bothers me. But I'm gonna let you answer that question, because, like I said, I was just raised, men don't do that.
It's to me too much. So emotional irregulation don't only work for the person who doesn't show emotion. You understand? So the person who shows too much emotion at the drop of the dime, that is and can be an irregularity of their emotions. So it's just a matter of just trying to figure out where you fit in and what you need to work on and your weaknesses, right? So everyone's different. Every therapist is different. So you may ask another therapist and they might say that's completely normal or that's completely fine because he's displaying his emotions all the time. But to me, there needs to be a healthy balance as to how you display your emotions. And if you're going to just like totally cry at the pop of, I don't know, it raining. And to me, that's, I don't think you may not have, I don't like to, you know, talk like you don't, but you may not have that control, or you may not have that sense of that emotional irregulation, so to speak. And it might be something that you need to work on. And it might be a reasoning why you're always so emotional. You know, and like, again, finding that healthy balance, because yes, you need to show your emotions when need be. And every emotion you have, there's a reaction for it, right? We are taught not to be so emotional to we do teach our males, you have to be tough and you can't show emotions. But again, like I said earlier, we lack that emotional component so that when you need help, it is okay to go and get help, knowing the difference. But, you know, if you're talking about a different end of the spectrum now, if they're just always crying for some odd reason that doesn't deem you crying, or, you know, whatever it may be, maybe that person as well needs to go and say, hey, why am I so emotional? There might be some underlying issues or some core issues that they need to work on, or some weaknesses that they need to work on to say, you know, tighten it up a little bit. And then this person, I need to loosen it a little bit. But again, that healthy balance.
No, the pressure. The one thing I want to, this also affects a lot of people more so today. I think more than anything else. Well, I call that social currency. My version of social currency is this: men are judged on how much money they make and how much power they can attain, and women, no matter what a woman accomplishes, she can accomplish. She could be Oprah Winfrey now, making billions of dollars. I'm not saying anything about Oprah, audience, and what I mean by Oprah has her issues, but what I mean that a woman can make billions of dollars, but the woman that has a certain look is more appreciated, in the area of women. So I believe it's more pressure on women. That's why I'm getting a lot of surgery today, more so than probably you've ever seen. But how is that, also affecting people? Because especially as a man, it's like, if you're not making six figures and above as a man, you're going to be demonized, and people going to look at you as you broke, especially in the Black community. Oh my God, we come down hard on brothers, not making a certain amount of money. But how's that pressure affecting people?
Well, can you ask the question too? Because you're talking about the self-esteem portion or the economics portion.
Well, I'm saying is yes, it's economic, but I'm saying it is a certain pressure that's put on even women to look a certain way or men to have a certain amount of money.
I think social media has a lot to play into that, the answer to that question. On social media, we are able to be our own directors for our own show, so to speak. And by nature, we don't want to speak on our negative or talk about or display any of the negative parts. So what you're going to see behind the screens or in front of our page, our show, if you will, is going to be all the luxurious things, all the positive things, even if it's not true. So you can be this beautiful, I don't know if they're called vixens anymore, but internet models, and you giving off a good show, but then behind closed doors, you living on somebody's ground, or you don't even have like a pot to piss in, or you don't have anything going for yourself other than showing off what your God-given talent or your birthday suit, so to speak. And those girls now are the ones that the men aspire to have on their shoulders. And so it's like a different playing field when you don't have the finances to kind of meet the expectations of, I guess, getting said girl. Like, sex does have a lot to play with people's kind of view. Like if you I don't want to get too much into the male female part thing, but sex sells, right? So that's why a lot of girls are making they're becoming influencers now. Like the influencers of the doctors or the lawyers or the person who has a college education, that's long in the past now. So now we want the girls who has the best body. So we're putting that into people's head now. That's the goal nowadays. And that's what you need to look like to become somebody or be that top notch of shelf for the men with money to come and pick from. I watched, what's his name again? Kevin Samuel's show lately. Like, I guess this is a new thing that's going around. And he talks a lot about that, on women being kind of depicted by their beauty. And I don't know if you watched the show any, but
I know who Kevin is very well. I've even interviewed Kevin on this show before.
Yeah, and he talks a lot about that, and that's what I don't think his views are too off. I think his delivery is, but that's neither here or there. But it's that same concept of the goal now is to become this person who either has the money or the person who has the perfect Coca-Cola shaped bottle. But forget what's inside. Forget the person who you are. Forget the standards again. Forget morals. Forget, it's like what was a taboo back then is now becoming the thing, the new thing today. And we're just missing out on a lot of that moral piece.
I agree with you, and you know, you mentioned Kevin's delivery. You know, I grew up with a lot of people like Kevin talking like that, so that's normalized to me.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. Sometimes people like Kevin's needed to talk to you like that, because some people could talk to you like, oh well, you know, try this and try that, and some people need to kick in your butt, and
Right.
some people respond better to getting kicked in the butt.
Yeah.
So if you go to Kevin's show, you know what you're getting. So,
Yeah.
but
That's another thing. Like, you know what you're gonna get, so don't
yeah.
be surprised when you get it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just bottom line. I take no issue in his delivery. You know, I mean, I grew up with plenty of people that talk like that. But the thing is, what you said earlier about, you know, everybody focusing on money or focusing on a look, that's fine. But what is going to happen if you get sick and for a time and you can't produce that 6-figure income? What's going to happen if a woman gets sick, or let's say even she gets pregnant, she has a child, she may be the type that gain 30 and 40 pounds after that pregnancy. What's going to, I mean, life is going to hit you all kind of ways. You know what I'm saying? And that's what people are not preparing for, is because I've been in places where I've had, you know, been great, then I lost money, then I regained it back, and I found better trajectory. I mean, so life is going to happen, and people aren't building families anymore. That's another thing. You know, yeah, okay, you got the plastic surgery body, but most men they don't really want to marry that. You know what I'm saying? They really don't. So what are we doing in the area of family? Because we it's like we don't want to have families anymore.
It's two folds with that too, though, because you say the men don't want the perfect picture girl, but that's what's displayed for people to believe that is, again, the goal to attain, right? So then but that's not true. So when you go through all these transformations to become that girl, again, you're missing out on the core value of the person that's not taught nowadays. So it's a total mixed message, I think, that we're sending to this new era of this new generation. Totally. And I was going to say something and I forgot. You asked what's going to happen to those people. What's going to happen is what's happening right now. A rise in depression, a rise in anxiety, a rise in suicide, a rise in family dividing or division. And it's exactly what's unfolding now. Like we're like on a it's like a shit show right now as far as how we're unfolding this whole the lifestyle nowadays.
Yeah, there's recently an influencer that took her own life, actually, and people don't realize when you're trying to keep that up, or just even when your pages grow on social media and different things, it's so much pressure on you to produce.
Yeah.
And even other YouTubers can tell you that the pressure of, you know, trying to keep up with the algorithm and trying to make sure you stay in good graces with that. And then if you get a staff, now you're responsible for paying your staff. It's a lot of pressure, you know. And some people, like you said, they just, you know, some women's status is based off of their looks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they let their looks go, that they can't wear the Fashion Nova no more.
That's it.
And get the Fashion Nova check. So
in the clothes.
It's you know, and you was mentioned earlier about social media. You better direct your own show, but the average guy that you see out on the street don't have an Instagram girl. He really don't.
Mm-hmm.
Most men don't really marry that, because I guess I come from the old school. I couldn't marry a woman that I see all on the internet showing herself. I couldn't do it, because in my mind, I'm thinking you've been with everybody. That's how I think. So you have no shame. You have, like, I think men should have something to the imagination to wonder what's underneath what you're wearing, but not just showing it to everybody. I'm like,
yeah, it's not for everybody.
No.
Yeah, but that's not the mindset nowadays. It's not the mindset. And then I think a lot of celebrities have a lot to do with it as well, too, because now your wife and the strippers, and it's not nothing wrong. I'm not saying anything's wrong. I'm just
Oh my God. You mentioned something. What you just said. Listen. This is how I feel. And I've said this many times. I do not feel the woman of the night should have a happy ending with for example, if you are Kim Kardashian, you don't need to be getting married and having no kids with no husband. That's how I feel about that, because you send a message that, what about the good women that wasn't out there doing that? They deserve the marriage. They deserve the children, the loving family. And some people say, well, why are you? Listen, you need to stick within your ilk. That's how I feel about it. If you're a woman of the night with it, you need to marry a reform whoever. Marry them. But I'm talking, you know what I'm saying? It's like you send a message that all women got to come out here like Cardi B. Cardi B shouldn't have a husband. And listen, ain't no way Cardi B can be married to me. I'm like, okay, listen, let's say if I was the type of guy, maybe before, you okay, before me, fine. But not after. You're not about to be showing the crack of your anything. Who you advertising for? I'm passionate about that conversation because I don't like to see that. And these men are so weak. That's not, I'm on that. These men today are so weak. Yes, I'm about to use the word let. You let your woman go out there dressing like that, then if she cheat on you, I mean, well, what you expect? She didn't respect you. Sorry, it touched a nerve with me. Let me go back to my reserved self.
Usa.
Yeah. That subject hurts a big nerve with me. I can't stand that. It goes back to my old school upbringing. Men need to be men, and part of being a doggone man is say what you're going to allow and not allow in your house.
Yeah. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, well, them different strokes not working, obviously.
But the thing is, that's the new norm now. Like that is here. I don't know. Like, I'm not here to kind of judge or like, because I love a rags to riches story. You know what I'm saying? So I do love Cardi B, but the image portion, and I'm all about children. That's what I'm all about too. Like,
right.
When you're an adult, like, you can do whatever it is you have the choice to do whatever it is that you choose to do. I think we have an obligation to these children to not only protect them from the pedophiles of the world or accidents or whatever, but to protect them from what they're seeing and protect them from what they're exposed to. Growing up, we didn't have all the things that's on TV now available to them, so to speak. Like, what the hell happened to the censorships of the world? What happened to kind of censorship, period? Like, it's like it's a free-for-all now, to where they can view anything, they can see anything, it's normalized. You're confusing. We wonder why these children are so freaking confused, but it's like we're confusing them, and then we wonder why they're confused. You know what I'm saying? We don't have them in a protective, not to say that to shelter them. I'm not saying shelter your kids. I'm saying that we need to teach our children right from wrong, right? And I would need to teach our children a way of that family structure. We need to teach them. Now, if they choose outside of that, that is their choice. But I don't feel like that structure from parents but then again, there's not even parents anymore, like in the household, because we're all kind of like just going this astray or dysfunctional, but I'm all about that protection for children when it comes to, seeing those things on TV or, like when I was younger, it was like a nighttime cap on things when you would have the music videos, or what was it? Was it like Icebox, or it was something that you just
BET uncut.
It was something, but it wasn't just, you wake up 10 o'clock in the morning and you just see whatever.
Yeah, behinds everywhere. I understand exactly what you're talking about. I mean, that's when they had. I do believe you should shelter your children to a point, not shelter them to the point you hurt them, but what I deem as shelter them is just protecting them. Like, I should not be allowing you to sit up here and watch, Megan Thee Stallion shake her behind. At no young age. I have a 6-year-old. That's not something that my 6-year-old should be sitting up there and thinking that's normal. You know what I'm saying? Now, you're an adult, you can do what you want, but like you said, our children are sheltered, in this country, and unfortunately, a lot of the parents are cool with it. They think it's normal. I mean, some parents let their kids cuss. You know, when I was growing up, I cussed in my grandma's house one time, and I got my mouth washed out literally with Zest soap. Literally. I still taste it in my mouth at my age now. But you know, today my grandmother went to jail. You know, that's a problem with society too. Parents can't be parents. Ain't nothing happened to me. But you know what I'm saying, we have a lot of issues that's in the community that we need to. So for people that probably need and want to talk with you, Ezsa, because I know there's a lot of people that need to talk with you. Shoot, man, I may even need to talk to you half the time. To help people, you know, how people can reach out to you and maybe acquire your services.
So you can find me on socialagecounseling.com. That's my website online, or you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook at officially Ezsa, officially EZSA.
Okay, so you say it's social. So repeat that one more time. Social what?
Socialagecounseling.com. That's my website. And then there's a toggle in there that you can just kind of input your information or just send me a message. And then, or if you're on social media on Instagram or Facebook, I'm under officially Ezsa, EZSA.
So Ezsa, let's say I hope I didn't hit you too hard today with some of the questions.
That's okay. I try to be ready now.
You try to be ready with it. Well, that's awesome. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, if any of you would like to talk to Ezsa and maybe need book a one-on-one with, you know, our sister here, make sure you contact her. I'm pretty sure she will get back with you in a timely manner. And there's nothing wrong with having, you know, a mental health, you know, expert to talk to. And also, it's not everybody's business that you're talking to somebody either, you know, because Black folks, we tell too much. Oh, well, I'm going to this mental health person. You could kind of, like, you talk about the stigma in the Black community. You would have a stigma if you just keep your mouth shut. It's like we have an inherent, you know, way. We got to tell everything.
Here's the thing. On the same token, I do try to normalize mental health and normalize seeing a therapist. What we don't have to do is bring our business to Facebook. We don't have to bring our business to Instagram. Don't nobody care on there. You know what I'm saying? And or just kind of like creating chaos in our own family or friends because we don't know how to properly express our feelings. So when we don't know how to express our feelings, we're going to push it out in ways of just being messy or just, you know, seeking attention in the wrong ways, you know, and that's what I don't promote. But as far as like, I do want to normalize that it is okay to get help when needed. And you don't have to be bipolar. You don't have to have schizophrenia. You don't have to have all these diagnosis issues to say, I need to go see a therapist. You can just be dealing with life challenges like grief, the loss of a child, the loss of a parent, the loss of a job can do something to you. It can affect you. It puts you in a funk to where you get depressed. And then some people don't know how to get out of that funk. And depending on your personality, a lot of factors come into it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, so make sure, ladies and gentlemen, to contact Ezsa. You know, she can definitely, you know, help you. I'm pretty sure she's smart and I can see she has a lot of patience because I know I was throwing some things at her just to see how she would wiggle a little bit. She didn't wiggle, so you know she's a professional. I will say that.
I learned it from a strong woman. So.
All right, good deal. So Ezsa, definitely thank you for joining us today, and you be blessed.
Thank you.